They thought I was asleep. They thought I was just a piece of old furniture to be discarded, but I was wide awake, listening behind my bedroom door as my own children plotted my end. When she dies in that nursing home, we'll split everything 50-50. My son Raphael whispered to his wife. Paula, they were counting cash they'd just stolen from my safe. I hope it doesn't take too long, Paula replied, the viper I'd welcomed into my home like a daughter. I'm tired of pretending to love her. There I was, Elena, 66 years old, watching them carve up my life like butchers. My other child, Brenda, laughed as she held my will, mocking that I never knew they'd already read it. The air was thick with their betrayal, mixed with cigarette smoke and expensive perfume. They were planning to ship me off to a nursing home in Madrid, paid for 6 months. By then, Brenda said, she'll be so gone she won't even notice. Their laughter echoed like hyenas, and in that moment, my faith in them shattered. I watched Paula slip on my grandmother's pearl necklace, a family heirloom, stroking it as if it were already hers. You look beautiful, Raphael applauded. It always suited you better than the old woman. The old woman. That's what my son, the boy I'd nursed through pneumonia, now called me. He spat contempt as they tossed 40 years of my photo albums into the trash. He was too busy checking my bank accounts online. More money than we thought, he smirked. We can buy that beach apartment for Paul. They were planning European vacations with my money. Luxuries paid for with the blood, sweat, and tears of a mother who gave them everything. The final piece of their cruel puzzle was Dr. Mauricio, my trusted physician. Raphael said he'd help, that he would sign the papers declaring me in. That night, I didn't sleep. I plotted. When morning came, it felt like a death sentence. They put on a show of tenderness, serving me breakfast on my finest china. A twisted Last Supper. Brenda handed me a golden envelope. Inside were plane tickets, nursing home forms, and medical authorizations, my prison sentence disguised as a gift. You can't live alone anymore, Mom, Raphael lied. You forgot to turn off the gas the other day. A complete fabrication. Paola's fake concern, Brenda's crocodile tears, and Mauricio's name on the documents. Each one was another stab in the back. Dr. Mauricio arrived, his medical bag looking like a butcher's toolkit. He asked me trick questions. What did you have for breakfast? Who is the president? Paula filmed it all on her phone, creating their false narrative of a senile old woman. Mauricio signed the papers with a golden pen. You'll be better cared for in Spain, he said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. They dressed me in the coat I wore to my husband's funeral, packed a small suitcase, and hugged me with practiced sorrow. A taxi waited outside like a hearse. At the airport, they handed me a script of what to say. The plane lifted off, carrying the last shreds of my hope into the gray clouds over Madrid. A man held a sign. Elena Morales, San Rafael residence. The place looked like a gilded prison. The director was polite. But my room was small, facing a manicured garden I had no part in creating. The first few nights were endless. My roommate, Maria, tried to comfort me. It hurts, she said, but you get used to it. Children have their own lives. My calls to Raphael and Brenda were met with excuses, then silence. My letters came back, unopened. They had engineered my social death to match the legal one. One day, a nurse casually mentioned how families bring them here and forget they exist. That was it. That was the spark I needed. I found a way to call my lawyer back in Brazil, Patricia Herrera. The words she spoke made my world collapse. Elena, she said, her voice grave, your children came to my office. They told me you had passed away. They brought a death certificate. It was a forgery. They had declared me dead to steal my inheritance. My internment wasn't care. It was kidnapping. Patricia immediately found me a lawyer in Madrid, Ricardo Mendoza. He worked like a detective, uncovering the web of lies. While he gathered evidence in Spain, Patricia filed criminal complaints in Brazil. I had to play my part. I pretended to adapt to my new life, all while Ricardo and Patricia built our case. We found bank transfers to shell companies. We found screenshots of Paula on social media, celebrating my death with champagne. My rage turned into a cold, precise determination. At night, I'd sneak to the resident's computer and check my accounts. My life savings were gone, laundered into offshore accounts. Paula was posting pictures of my remodeled home. The day finally came. Ricardo confirmed that arrests were imminent. Patricia had all the paperwork ready. We set a trap. My children were summoned to a notary's office in Brazil to sign the final papers for their dead mother's inheritance. They walked in, expecting to collect their stolen riches. But I was waiting, hidden in the adjoining office with Patricia, who had recorders and cameras ready. They arrived radiating arrogance and greed. Raphael, swaggering. Brenda, with her fake laugh. Paula, checking her reflection, probably thinking about her next spa appointment. Patricia started the meeting by mentioning irregularities. The death certificate, she explained, actually belonged to someone else. Panic began to flicker in their eyes. They started blaming each other, their lies unraveling in real time. Then, Patricia dropped the bombshell. She told them that the San Rafael residence had recently discharged a patient named Elena Morales Herrera, who had returned to Brazil, very much alive and very, very angry. Chairs scraped. Gasps filled the room. Patricia locked the door. They tried to squirm their way out of it. It was a clerical error. We acted in good faith. But Patricia was ready. She produced emails, bank statements, social media posts. The evidence was overwhelming. And then I opened the door. The silence was absolute. Raphael saw me first. His face went white. "Mom," he stammered. "But you're dead." "Not dead," I said, my voice steady, very much alive, very lucid, and very angry. Brenda fainted. Paola's smug smile cracked and fell. I walked around them, every word a hammer blow. Patricia laid out photographs of their lavish spending, proof of how they celebrated the day they shipped me off to die. They started pleading, promising to return the money. But how could they return my dignity? How could they repay the nights I cried myself to sleep, or give me back the trust I had placed in them? Patricia read the list of charges. Aggravated fraud, forgery, misappropriation of funds, kidnapping, years in prison for each of them. They fell to their knees, crying, blaming their confusion. I felt nothing. No pity. No mercy. Just the cold, clean satisfaction of justice. The full extent of their theft was staggering. My house sold for 2 million reais. I chose criminal prosecution. 6 months later, the verdicts came. Raphael got 8 years in prison. Paula, 6 years as an accomplice, and her precious beach apartment was seized. Brenda received 5 years of probation and community service caring for the elderly she's so eagerly abandoned. Dr. Mauricio lost his medical license and is facing his own charges. And me? I got everything back. Every single cent. Plus penalties. 3.5 million reais. With that money, I bought a small house by the sea. My mornings now begin with sunlight and the sound of waves. I water my garden. I read. I paint. I've reconnected with my true friends. My new will divides my estate among charities for abandoned elders. And as a final message, I left each of my children exactly one real bitter reminder of their betrayal. Letters from prison arrive, but I burn them unread in my fireplace. I've learned to forgive myself for waiting so long to love myself. I am Elena reborn, not a martyr, but the woman who reclaimed her life and chose to live the years she deserved on her own terms. I am fierce, I am free, and I am finally at peace. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of justice and rebirth.